I'm David Griffin. It's the 26th of February 2018 and I'm here at Derby and I'm talking to
Jason Fage.
Jason, thank you once again for joining us as part of this heritage project. What I want to do now is look at your administrative role with Derbyshire County Cricket Club, your management role with the club. First of all, did you ever have any inkling or interest in being a part of the club's management structure prior to your co-option 4 years ago to the board?
No, not really. It was always something that I considered, people did when they got nothing else better to do. At the time, I was quite busy with work, and it was just one of those things, I really didn't think that I had the time to actually give my all to actually, doing a proper job for Derbyshire County Cricket Club. So it never was really in my thoughts. What kind of happened, and I'm very happy that it did in the end.
So you got the call from the then chairman, I assume,
Yeah.
Chris Grant, asking you if you wanted to join. Did you need much persuading?
A little bit, because what I've just said really, my first inclination, I think my first answer was, I've got no chance, because I'm not going to be able to, to attend the board meetings. And what Chris was like, very persuasive. He was sort of like, oh, don't worry, it's only a few emails and a few phone calls and the odd meeting here and there, don't worry, you'll be fine. So after a couple of sleeps, I think that's what really transpired from there. So I was, agreed that I'd put myself forward to be co-opted on.
Once you are on the inside and have got a different take on the game and on the club, does that radically change the way you looked at the game and at the club? Because you know something more than other people. Is that a difficult question to answer, or do you see where I'm coming from?
It isn't. I mean, the simple answer is yes, it is. Because you see not only the problems that Derbyshire County Cricket Club face, financially is the main one, but you see how that transpires through all the other 17 counties, and how we're heavily reliant on ECB and etc. to keep everything going. So you do see the warts and all stories, and yes, it changes your mind, from one year to another.
So you came onto the board as the administration director. So that what does that mean effectively? What does your 12 months a year job entail? It's
as I've probably said it before at the forums tonight, it's probably the least sexy of the roles really. It's a day-to-day support role for the chief executive, representing making sure the laws of the club are maintained, representing the members, and basically making sure that everybody appears at the board meetings, the minutes are taken correctly and actioned on, and and then from there on, anything else that falls out of that really, representing the club at away games or representing the club at functions with the sponsors. So there's lots outside of the main body of it, but the bolts and braces of it are basically just keeping the administrative sides ticking over throughout the year, getting us to the AGM and then working through the AGM.
As we sit here in 2018, Jason, and we're going towards the new city cricket, whether it's going to be called franchise cricket or whatever, what do you see as the challenges for Derbyshire, and for you, what have you got to do as part of that management group in the coming 2 to 5 years? Yeah,
I mean, the upside of it is obviously we're going to be financially secure. The downside is, what do we do with all that money? Do we spend it on a ground, improve facilities, but do we improve, lots of nice facilities out there when we might not have as much cricket on offer? So it's a crossroads at the moment as to what we're going to do, I think, and it's not just Derbyshire, it's a lot of clubs in our position. It'll be interesting to see if we lose our best players to the franchise. Who knows whether if more people will sort of migrate back to county cricket in support of it. It'll just be very interesting to see. I think there are answers that we probably don't know at this moment in time. I'm hoping that yes, people will come back to county cricket, come back to the Royal London and support it in numbers from 2020 onwards. It'll be interesting to see if the proposed outstretching to new people to watch cricket from the 2020 actually happens or not, because who knows where those people are at the moment and what they're doing. At the moment they're probably watching football and doing lots of other things. So
you talked in your first interview about the great 2005 Ashes winning season in England, where you went to a day of every test match. Do you see Test cricket as still being preeminent in England, and where do you see it in the world game?
Well, I think the good side from England's point of view is that it is still a very strong part of an English summer, an English heritage, so to speak, is Test match cricket. I went to Test match cricket when I was very young. I remember playing, funny story with my mum, I remember paying a tout to get into England-Australia at Old Trafford. And when we got in, lo and behold, our seats had been sold to somebody else.
Really?
So I think I was about 10 at the time, 10 or 11. So off I stomped to the admin office and complained, vigorously, not telling them what I'd done outside the ground sort of an hour before. I've always been a big advocate of Test cricket, and I hope it's around for many years to come. The plus side is obviously say England still sell test matches out, and we still manage to sell quite a few Test matches when we go abroad as well. My main concern is obviously the countries that are not, or I'll say not as prominent in Test cricket, but are more prominent in one-day cricket. The likes of your Indias and New Zealands and that tend to do better in one-day cricket at the moment, and it'll be them that sort of move away from Test cricket in the future. But at the moment, I think England is quite a strong position, and part of that is the last round of where they've just allocated all the grounds. You still had 8-9 grounds bidding for those Test matches, so it's still a big thing in this country that people still want to stage that on their own grounds. So
do you have a favourite format of the game, or do you like the fact that the three interweave with each other?
No, 4-day cricket, championship cricket is still. I still get excited. What's upsetting a little bit is the toss. Because I used to be that excited about turning up at 10:30 on the first day and seeing what the toss was going to be, because that sort of defined what was going to happen over the next 4 days. It's kind of been watered down a bit, but 4-day cricket's still and Test match. I can't think of anything better than spending 9 hours watching cricket, and on the boundary, whatever.
You and I, as we sit at Derby, go back a long way, and with the exception of the old scoreboard that most people now, they call it by the name of the sponsor's name that's attached to it, because they don't know it as a scoreboard. But that's the only thing left from the old ground. Obviously there's been a huge amount of redevelopment, and you and I both remember it as a very drafty and dowdy kind of place. Are there any further plans that you can obviously divulge? I wouldn't expect you to say things you can't, but are there any further plans for additional development?
You never say never. I don't think there's anything firm at the moment. Without speaking out of turn, I think what we need to do now is just to smarten up what we've gotten already, to make it a better offering for people to come to. Obviously we staged the Women's World Cup last year, and when there's people in the ground and you've got that extra sort of things that people bring in, that makes it look a good place to come and watch cricket. So we've just got to make sure that that's what we offer on a 2020 night or on a 50 over game if we get to quarterfinals and that. But I think we just got to smarten up what we've got already and then see where that takes us really with future development, because 2020 is upon us and we're not sure what we're going to have to offer in the form of cricket. So,
and in terms of your own role, do you have ambitions to be the chairman of the club, or is that something that you kind of, that's a step too far in terms of time and commitment?
I think that's probably a step too far in time and commitment. Yeah, I think when I've done my 8-year stint on the board, I'll be quite happy then to go back and enjoy my cricket a little bit more, because you do, people don't see it, but when you sat upstairs, let's say if there's a 90 overs in a day, 96 overs in a day, I'll probably see about 20 of them. We don't see that many, so there's lots of things that goes off, people asking you questions, you've been pulled away, so I'll be quite happy to sit back on the boundary and watch my cricket from there, I think, when I've done my stint.
And of course you watch your cricket with your wife, and so I always think that it's whether you play, watch, whatever you do, even whether you're a fisherman or someone who does something that takes a long time, it always helps to have a good partner or a good wife or a good husband who supports you through that. So, and you do seem to watch most of your cricket with Rachel.
Yeah, well, we met on the boundary, so that's it's where we met in '96, I think it was, during when we talked about Dean Jones. Yeah. She was a big Dean Jones fan, and she was coming to cricket with her mum and dad. I was living at Belper, and so we've got Derbyshire to blame.
Do you ever argue about cricket?
Oh no.
Do you?
No, we don't argue about much anyway, should we? No, we don't argue about cricket, no. We're on the same wavelength there.
So in terms of the overall, I mean, I accept that Derbyshire cricket is, I don't think Derbyshire's at a crossroads, but the game is clearly at a crossroads. Do you think that Derbyshire can still be relevant? And I say that not in a negative sense, because I personally think it can be, but do you think the club can still be relevant? Can it produce an England player? Can Derbyshire get promoted? Can it win a trophy?
Oh, I'm sure it can. Yes. I mean, you just don't know what's around the corner. I mean, the league, the Derbyshire League thrives, and we just need to get players through there into the academy, and then and see where we go from there. We've now got a really good setup with the academy. People then sort of have cried, we let Derbyshire players leave and come and go, but they come through the academy. It's like any job you do. If you reach a point and you're not at the point where you can progress in your role, then obviously you have to go and do something else. And it's just a conveyor belt of trying to get people through. We did have, during my lifetime watching cricket, a lot of players from Derbyshire that have played for England. We've mentioned quite a few of them earlier on. There's probably a whole team that you could mention in the last 20, 25, 30 years that have played for England. And I'm sure that will come round again. It's just finding that right person and having the right people looking and training those people to bring them through. But I'm sure there's a place for Derbyshire as well.
And coming right up to date, your current favourite players and those, anyone you tip for the top that's either on the fringes or that's just making their way? 30 years time, Jason, somebody could be the greatest England player there's ever been, so I tipped him.
Yeah, current favourites, that's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, I've always been a batsman, so I like watching Wayne Manston bat, and that's great. Whenever he's in form, that's brilliant. And of the youngsters, Callum Broderick looks interesting, and who knows what we'll unearth with the likes of Alfie Gledall and James Taylor from the bowling ranks. So there's always something to be optimistic about. And we've got, I was just talking to somebody at the weekend. We've still got, a good 8 to 10 English qualified players that will play in the Derbyshire team for the majority of the season. So, and that includes the likes of Harvey Hussain, who's exciting. We've got a Derbyshire lad opening the batting, hopefully for us in Slater. So, the future's there.
It's very difficult. It's prediction time. And again, in 30 years' time, somebody could look back at this and say, he knew what he was talking about. That
Up to 93.
Any predictions for 2018?
Predictions, I think we'll have a better 4-day campaign than what we've had. Looking how we've set up for the beginning part of the season. Because obviously last year we had Mendes, playing the first part of the season. He didn't really get going until the last 2 or 3 games. So if they all come back fit, and that's a big if, because we've been stung there before. But if we've got those 4 seamers against Middlesex on day 1 here, I'm sure they'll not be looking forward to facing Olivier, Viljon, Rampol, and maybe a young Davis coming in. So it'll all be down, I think, to how we start with the ball. And if we can start to bowl, take 20 wickets early on, I can see us having a better 4-day campaign this year. The expectation and the the carrot's been dangled in the 2020 with what we did last year.
Absolutely.
It's always difficult to back that up, I think. So if we got to quarterfinals again and then just took what came from that, I think we'd be doing very well.
It is quite random, isn't it, T20? I know you do get teams like Leicestershire who won it 3 times, Northants had a bit of a purple patch, but when you look at last year, that Lancashire and Yorkshire, for example, both missed out in our group. Do you think that randomness will continue?
Yeah, I'm a big believer of, if it's like with any team, you go back to 93, it's usually the same 11 that play most of the games in a competition that you find the team gets to the final and does well in it. If you're using 16, 17 players, you usually find that doesn't work. And in 2020, when it's blocked, 14 games in 6 to 8 weeks and everything. If you've got a fully fit team and you pick your first 11 on day 1 and you stick with it, you usually find that's what happens. And that's what happens when you've got the likes of Northants and Leicester doing well in it, because they haven't got the big squads. Yeah. So they got their selection right, and it maybe was a better luck than judgment on many occasions. Stick with the 11, and then hopefully hopefully we can do the same.
Well, you've had a long and clearly enjoyable involvement in the game, watching it and from an administrative perspective. If you could sum up what the game means to you, or what it's meant to you, what is so wonderful about this game, how would you do that?
I think it's friendship. Come on, the friends you make over the years. A lot of my spare time is spent here, especially from April onwards. You know, and the people that you get to know, and you know, sadly, you know, the ones that have gone, you know, and the stories you've got to tell about those. So yeah, it's more about friendship, I think, and the people, you know, because I would have met half the people in my life if it hadn't been for Derbyshire County Cricket Club, and that's how it is, really.
And if you could have one day, this is the hardest question I find that everybody gets, if you could have one cricketing day back from your 30 plus years, is it, of watching, maybe more now, of watching Derbyshire, which one would it be?
I'll eliminate a few. Maybe the odd day at Arundel when we were there, which were nice, you know, on outgrounds, and I think they were nice. Obviously, the Lord's final was good, but I actually think that the best day was of watching cricket was the semi-final here in that year in '93.
It's Northamptonshire.
Yeah, because
hottest day I've ever watched cricket on, I think.
Well, I was here at 7 o'clock. You were probably here before me, but you had to get here early to get a seat on the balcony. And as Derbyshire performances goes, it was probably a little bit stress-free, wasn't it? Because
it was 8-wicket win
with Morris and Adams coming in and finishing the job off. And it was just like there was a big stand over the far side, you know, a temporary stand. Sun shone. Yeah, that was probably the best day because you knew by about 3 o'clock that we were going to Lords. So
I remember most vividly Morris coming down the pitch to Ambrose, and I thought he's got the bit between his teeth today because not many people have done that. Yeah. Well, Jason, it's been a pleasure to hear from you and to chat about your cricketing life. I hope you enjoy the next 30 or so as much as you've enjoyed the last 30. Thanks very much.
Thank you.